good. Start one in Mielo. 2-3 are okay. Even they were to show much weaker. Quickly, let's do that. Let's do that as the video is playing. Ah, good. Okay. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to. Good day and welcome to today's broadcast. Let's start with these videos and I'll come on. I'm sorry we started late, but we're just doing an update of today's events.
And fellow countrymen and women, this is an address on behalf of the family of President Edgar Lungu, the 6th Republican President of the Republic of Zambia. Between yesterday and today, we have had occasion to meet the government of the Republic of Zambia, represented by Honorable Mulambo Haimbe. In our meetings, they requested to hear what the position of the family was as regards how the mortal remains of our former president will be dealt with. In dealing with this subject matter, a position was presented to the government of the Republic of Zambia. The position being that the family wished to respect the wishes of the former president of the Republic of Zambia. And the respect that has been accorded to him, as he wished could be accorded to him, was that he be buried in Zambia. And in being buried in Zambia, he took cognizance of the fact that he served the country faithfully and diligently, putting aside personal ones and putting the country back on a trajectory of development. Hence, the massive infrastructure development that he oversaw being undertaken in the country. And as such, he would not take away the reason, or rather the obligation of every Zambian, or the desire of every Zambian, to mourn him with dignity. And as such, President Edgar Lungu deserves the honors of being buried with the dignity that will be accorded to him by the Zambians. Through all this, he was cognizant to the fact that the government, under the watch of President Hakainde Hichilema, did not treat him as it ought to have. Sometime in 2022, he requested to travel for medicals in South Africa. The state rejected that request. That request was re-emphasized in 2023. The state responded by stating that it had no resources. In his response to the state, he stated that he would use his own resources. The state responded in a letter dated the 7th of September 2023, stating that his request was denied. Notwithstanding that the said travel was not for leisure or business, but for his health to be attended to. It should be known that at any given time, the state was aware of the ailment of President Ecl'S, having served in State House and thereafter being former president, they knew what his condition was. Despite all that knowledge that they had, they still refused to allow him to travel. Fellow countrymen and women, you will note that at the time these entitlements were being denied him, he hadn't returned to active politics. He was still receiving other entitlements such as a pay that is due to a former head of state. But as regards his health and his movement, those were heavily restricted by the state. In 2025, when the ailment exceeded and doctors traveled into Zambia, checked on him and advised that he should come to South Africa, that time he had seized, or government had withdrawn all his privileges, and he traveled as an ordinary citizen. And he only booked a last-minute ticket was at the airport for purposes of not allowing the state to have enough time to connive and stop him. He arrived at the airport 30 minutes before boarding and eventually boarded. Those that dared to give him courtesies at the airport have since been fired. In our meeting with the state today, we made it open and clear that the family is not averse to certain privileges, though having been taken away from him, to be accorded to him as he earns them. Fellow countrymen and women, you will note that upon his travel, doctors in South Africa did express a concern to say that had he traveled earlier, they could have made certain interventions that would have served him well. And this would not be the discussion today. However, they proceeded to take measures that were necessary to sustain him and to remedy that of the desires of President Edgar Chagwa himself and the family. As the family mourns, they call for unity, they call for sobriety, they call for introspection, that this should not be a cause for division, but should be a cause for unity. And as such, any imposition from the government that goes against the desires of the family will not be accepted. However, we remain amenable to a win-win situation that accommodates all the views of the state. stakeholders involved. I thank you.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are doing an update. There have been a lot of activities that have occurred today. Honorable Given Lubinda, who is the Patriotic Front president, made announcements on ZNBC yesterday. Today we woke up to news headlines by Secretary General Honorable Raphael Nakachinda expressing some concerns from the family. And there's been an issue where there's a discussion on that it should be a private funeral. The family today met with the government delegation. It was a heated meeting, but at least the demands of the family were put across to government about the departure of the mortal remains of the former president, the desire that they grant authority to the South African community that wishes to have a church service, a memorial service, and that the remains couldn't be brought to Zambia any earlier than Wednesday. And then we saw the Secretary to Cabinet also issue a statement. So maybe let me play what the Secretary to Cabinet, then I ran through the current status, because all these have brought confusion to the masses to say what does this mean? Where should we gather? What does it mean private funeral? What does it mean state funeral? Where is the intersection? Where do all these interests meet? Let's hear what Secretary to Cabinet Mr. Patrick Kangwa stated today, and then I'll give our current state, taking into interest the family interest, the state interest, the party's interest, and we all move forward. Everyone wants this done very well, but we'll not bury our heads in the sand. We will discuss matters as they are. So let's hear what Mr. Patrick Kangwa, Secretary to Cabinet, announced.
Ladies and gentlemen of the press, good afternoon. Welcome to this press briefing this afternoon at Cabinet Office. Apologies, the presser was built for 14:30, but we still were doing one or two things. The Secretary to Cabinet, Mr. Patrick K. Kangwa, will address the media and through you, the nation. I now take the opportunity to invite the Secretary to Cabinet to address the nation. Let's see, sir.
Thank you, PS, and good afternoon, members of the media. The government of the Republic of Zambia wishes to inform members of the public that President Hakainde Hichilema has accorded a state funeral to His Excellency Mr. Edgar Chagwa Lungu, the 6th President of the Republic of Zambia, who died in South Africa on Thursday, 5th June 2025. As the public is aware, the government of the Republic of Zambia has been engaging and consulting the family and other stakeholders. Government wishes to announce that the body of the late 6th President will arrive in the country on Wednesday, 11th June 2025. Members of the public are also advised that the funeral gathering for the late President will be at Belvedere Lodge along Leopards Hill Road in Kabulonga, Lusaka. President Hichilema has declared a 7-day period of national mourning from Sunday, 8th June to Saturday, 14th June 2025. This is in line with the guidelines relating to former Republican president. This is in honor of the late former president in recognition of his immense contribution to the nation as 6th President of the Republic of Zambia. Members of the public are requested to observe the 7 days of national mourning from 6 hours to 18 hours by postponing or cancelling all entertainment activities while flags shall fly at half-mast. The public will be updated on other funeral arrangements at a later time. I thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. That was Secretary to Cabinet Patrick Kangwa giving the version of the state. Let's all do a recap. Following the demise of Zambia's 6th president in South Africa, the nation was plunged into mourning. During this period of national mourning, before it was even declared official national mourning, there were groans and complaints that that were raised by number one, the family. Now, what's a position of what is the position of their family? The family is very aggrieved that that it was difficult, number one, to mourn President Edgar Lungu. They needed to air out these grievances. What they did first was to appoint a family spokesperson who is Makebi Zulu. Makebi Zulu is in South Africa with other members of the delegation from the party, from the family, and lawyers are in South Africa. So Makebi Zulu, who's been a long-standing lawyer for President Edgar Lungu, was appointed as spokesperson for the family. This was to ensure that the views and voices of the family were put in a very categorical manner. The party has its hierarchy. The party has its structure led by acting president Given Lubinda. The party, people are calling already, the party has its structure. The party has its hierarchy led by Honorable Given Lubinda. The Secretary General of the party is already traveled to South Africa. Honorable Raphael Nakachinda is in South Africa. And other party officials. Then we have the state. The state sent the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Honorable Mlambo Haimbe MP, who's also been in South Africa. They've had, I think, 2 critical meetings so far with the family. There were other issues happening, but let's start with the party. The party, as soon as they learned of the demise of the president, took charge. They made the official announcement that the president had died. From information from the family, they dispatched a team of Honorable Nakachinda and others, Professor Nkanduluo and others, to South Africa to be with the former First Lady, Mama Esther Nyawa Lungu. The party also made an announcement that since government has not responded, government has not made any indication, because remember, President Edgar Lungu died at 06 hours on that fateful day of 5th June, and the announcement were being made now later in the evening. So they said, no, we'll allow people to gather at a party secretariat. First, this is a head of our party who has died. He's a chairperson of Tonse Alliance, where we have alliance, and therefore everyone will gather at the party secretariat. Very good initiative by the party. They didn't want people to wander around. And I think that has served a good purpose so far. Many people have been gathering at the party secretariat on Lumumba and at the corner of Lumumba and Panganani Road. That's where the gatherings have been. On the side of the state dispatched Honorable Mlambo Haimbe, and as soon as his delegation with the PS from Cabinet Office and the acting High Commissioner in South Africa were in South Africa, they reached out to Honorable Makebi Zulu, and they had the initial meeting for Honorable Mlambo Haimbe to state out and spell out government interest in this matter. This was a head of state, former head of state. He was Zambia's 6th president. The state has its own obligations, and they laid out their obligations. They also took time to go and pay their official condolences to the former First Lady, Mama Esther Lungu, where she is briefly residing, and where President Lungu has been residing since January 2025, when he went to South Africa for medical treatment. Today we had a second meeting at which now government was fully informed. The family also had full instructions. The party also had its interest also laid out. Honorable Mlambe-Haimbe and his team were anxious that the body should be taken to Zambia as soon as is practicable, even if it was today or tomorrow on Sunday. The family said, no, there are preparations we are making as a family, and we've also acceded to the request by the Zambians resident in South Africa who've requested. That is customary. Usually when a Zambian dies, they hold a church service. They recognize that President Edgar Lungu was a former head of state, was a high dignitary. However, they had requested the family if they could grant this wish, which they do to every Zambian who dies in South Africa. They hold this ceremony. And the family took that into consideration. And President Lungu has been in South Africa for the last 6 months. So it was just important that I think the Zambian community in South Africa is given an opportunity to mourn him, because they will not travel to Zambia. So I think an agreement was made that the body of my dear brother spokesperson Chanoda Ngwira, will you allow us to call just after I'm done with the briefings? Then I can allow you to contribute. Thank you very much. So the body of that could only come on Wednesday. I think that was the agreement, despite whatever concerns there were, but at least there was a settlement that the body would only be repatriated from South Africa on Wednesday. There's been various reports that the family demanded that this should be a private funeral. Now let me elaborate. We now have history. Remember when President Levi Mwanawasa died, he left a tested will, and he wished to be buried in Palawana at his farm, and he made another demand that he wanted full transparency, and he wanted his will read on national public broadcaster on the day that he will have transitioned to heaven. And so we had done an uncharacteristic event where we saw the president who had died on TV reading his own will and his own wishes and his own desires. And he said, this will is in the custody of my lawyers. And part of the instructions as soon as I pass on, because he was, I think, dealing with inherent issues, and he was, I think, warned by the doctors that he probably would not live long. So he bothered to do not just a written will, he did an actual video will. And for the Gen Z, this is an opportunity for you to learn. So when President Levi Mwanawasa died, he died in 2008 in Egypt, in France. He had a stroke at the African Union meeting to resolve issues and crises around Zimbabwe. He was evacuated from Sirte, Libya, to initially Egypt and to France, where a few months later he died. But the day he died, his will was read on ZNBC, because that's the instructions he had left. And he had said he wished to be buried at his farm in Palavana. But the state came in, and there was family negotiations, there was family discussion. It was an emotive process because their political interest, their succession interest. The man had died while he was head of state, but there was an amicable solution that, look, Embassy Park was designated as a place where former heads of states or Zambia's presidents will lie as much as the space allows. And so despite the wishes of President Levi Mwanawasa, he was put to rest at Embassy Park, where you can find his grave even to date. There were similar concerns when former President Dr. Edgar Chagwa died. I remember there's an issue where he had stated that he didn't want any post-mortem. Now, that was a very controversial issue. When we were in South Africa, the doctors had proposed an operation to his heart. He refused. The doctors had proposed a heart transplant. You remember that I handled that matter personally, and I was the administrator in the office of the second president. They said his heart that was in 2006. He couldn't live beyond a year. And they said the solution is a heart transplant. And the doctors even found a heart in Cape Town that was suitable for him. Dr. Chuluba refused. He says, no. I'm a man of faith. My faith is very important to me. I will not wear another man's heart. The professors were very shocked. Mr. President, you are not well. You don't have a good heart. We can manage this heart barely a year or so. He refused to have a heart transplant. It was very expensive. I handled that matter myself, but Dr. Chuluba refused. He said, if it's the wish of my Lord that I should go now, I should go, but I will not have that heart transplant. Many people will remember that the doctors later in 2009 and 2010 recommended that his condition had deteriorated and it couldn't be managed. His cardiac issue couldn't be managed any further because now it was affecting other organs, and they had proposed what they call a pacemaker. Now, a pacemaker is just something that helps the heart. It's usually transplanted either outside the heart or inside, the body. Dr. Chuluba refused even the issue of the transplant. So there are these issues that are handled, but you have to balance out with the interest. We had Michael Sata. I think his funeral was held in the stadium. Some family members wanted it to be at St. Ignatius, but it was just not possible. So the funeral was held at Heroes Stadium. So we have the case of President Edgar Lungu. So this is not different. We've handled this. And I'm glad that the government has an experienced hand in Patrick Kangwa. I would like them even to call other senior people like Simon Miti and others that are very experienced in handling this matter. It's a delicate matter. The emotions are very high. The demands from the family, the demands from the political party, and the demands by government are all competing and are all very important. But it's just how you manage the process. It's a very short process. The critical period is this next 7 days. How do we handle this? For the family, I think they laid out the case by Honorable Makebi Zulu that, look, government repeatedly refused the former president to seek his medical treatment. Zambians will remember that he had a condition in 2015. As soon as he became president, he was officiating at Women's Day on 8th March 2015, and he collapsed at the stadium. He was taken to Maina Soko Hospital. They evaluated, they said it was his BP, and his sugar, that crisis that usually people that are diabetic and have a sugar do fall into, if they are hypertensive and they are also diabetic. But they discovered a new condition, that had something to do with his esophagus. So the Maina Soko said they couldn't handle it, and they evacuated the president to South Africa. He was a new president, newly elected, just 2 months in office. So you can imagine the competing forces, the suspicions, the sense of just mistrust by everyone involved, because he was a new president, and here he had this new condition. So President Lungu has been going to South Africa from 2015 over that particular condition. it's been attended to as regular as he sees his doctors. But this time, the last time he was in South Africa was 2021. He went, soon after he left office, he went to South Africa. But the second attempt in 2022 to go for this medical checkup and the scrutiny of this underlying condition that is always treated for since 2015, he couldn't access it. 2022. 2023, he wrote a famous letter that we made public. Government said they were unable to fund his trip. He says, that's not the issue. I'm a former head of state. I wish to go for my medical treatment. If government is not willing to fund my trip, I'm willing to fund my own trip. Many will remember that he went to the airport and was pulled out of the plane. He had an invitation to go to South Korea for a peace summit. Again, he was denied. He had a meeting in Ndola during the same period. Again, that meeting, they just couldn't allow it, and the police barricaded the entire church and even arrested the pastors from the fellowship, Ndola fellowship, that had organized that meeting. It got worse. We're lucky that in 2023, when Zimbabwe had a new president in Emmerson Mnangagwa's re-election, they extended an invitation. And this invitation was from Zimbabwe. Everything was being made from Zimbabwe. So we turned up at the airport. I was stopped from traveling. Fred Membe was stopped from traveling. The former president was stopped. But after various consultation, Makebi Zulu, who was with us, made various phone calls. Why are you stopping us? Why are you stopping the former president? Why are you stopping Emmanuel Mwamba? Why are you stopping Fred Membe? Why they can't travel? And at the nick of time before the plane, these big planes that come from, I can't remember whether it's the Emirates or Qatar or Ethiopian Airlines that come, they first dock into Lusaka, then they go to Harare. Just before they could close the boarding gates, the president was allowed, I was allowed, and also Fred Membe was allowed. That's how we went. It was a 2 days meeting, and we came back. But it was during that same month that they had denied President Lungu to go to South Africa for his medical treatment. He, as the family narrated, they took the opportunity to invite his doctors from South Africa. Of course, we didn't make this public. The family dealt with this in a private manner. The doctors observed him. I think they were affiliated to some hospital, and they did some tests and observed him. They demanded that he travels to South Africa as soon as possible. He couldn't. Government didn't grant him authority. In January, the doctors kept on calling, Mr. President, you have to come. We have to check on you. What we saw, I think in November, concerned us. We thought you'd be here. So the president, his lawyers, we decided that he should go. I was already in the US, but the family decided that he should go. And there's something they did. They didn't buy the ticket, because when you buy a ticket, you are listed on the passenger manifest. And when you are listed on the passenger manifest, then the state becomes aware that the former president is traveling. So they just turned up at the airport, and his officials just went to the counter and bought the ticket at the last minute, not to give room to the state to try to stop him, because it had become an issue of life and death. His doctors kept on calling, Mr. President, we need you here. You invited us in Zambia. We looked at you. You need to come. And so that's a trick they did at the airport. And lucky enough, that day, the United Nations Special Rapporteur, Dr. Irene Khan, was arriving. So there was a buzz of huge number of security, because this is a UN security rapporteur. Then, because she's from the United Nations and she holds such a position, the UN agencies from UNDP, from UN and other dignitaries were there to receive her. And they became aware of the former president who was traveling. So it was extremely embarrassing. They couldn't stop him. There was an official, who was airport manager, who came and expressed concern that there were concerns that the president should not travel. The president said, okay, so how could they stop him when there were all these UN officials and this woman had come to investigate human rights abuses, the mistreatment of persons like Dr. Edgar Lungu, the mistreatment of all of us. There were these complaints that the UN had listed that Zambia was abusing human rights, and they had issued an earlier statement, and an agreement was made that Dr. Khan would be in Zambia. So it became embarrassing both for the state, and that's how Dr. Edgar Chagwa traveled to South Africa. I think that was January 15th. So the family today bothered to catalog that. They said, we know that we have to mourn him in dignity. We recognize that he has to be mourned very well as former head of state. But we need to put here these concerns by the state, and we will allow the state to play its role, but these concerns we have. For example, we've acceded that the Zambians in South Africa should hold a service. We don't want that disrupted. That's a wish of the family. No matter your agency, that agency can wait. We want the president to be mourned even by South Africans. Then there are these stakeholders that have been looking after the president the last 6 months. You are not here. You didn't pay any bills. You didn't look after him. You didn't send any minister, you didn't send any official from the embassy to come and understand where the president was, how the president was doing. So you just can't come here and bulldoze your way through. So I'm glad that there were these meetings. I'm told they became heated, but all sense, because we are all Zambians and we demand, patriotism. The spirit of patriotism kicks in all of us. It was agreed that the mortal remains of the former president will be repatriated to Zambia on Wednesday. Is it a private funeral? No, not at all. Is it a state funeral? Yes, it is. To what extent is it private? The wishes of the family have to be met. For example, what has happened where government wanted the body to go to Zambia today. So the wish of the family that agreed that it could only go on Wednesday. That is to the extent. So for me, I don't want to call it a private funeral. It's a state funeral. He was former head of state. But what we have all to learn is that there are these competing interests that have to be taken care of. Without us losing the dignity, without us reducing this to a spectacle. And there's been something that is very heartwarming. Look at the number of heads of states that have expressed condolences to the former president. You clearly see that this is a president that had good relations with his colleagues in SADC. Nearly every head of state in SADC have issued words of condolences. They've passed on to the family. Some have put them on Facebook, some on Twitter, some, and I know, having worked at such high level, every time you put out a statement like that, there's official communication that has been sent to Zambia, to the president, to the family of, the widow, Mama Esther Lungu. These communications will come through Foreign Affairs. But each president, from the two kingdoms, Lesotho and Swaziland, to South Africa itself, President Cyril Ramaphosa, Namibia, Zimbabwe, Tanzania, Kenya, I haven't personally seen Malawi. Then the United Nations Secretary General earlier this morning issued a statement. Chair of SADC, African Union, they've all issued messages of condolences. This is a quick reminder to all of us that this is just not our funeral in Zambia. It's a funeral for everyone. There are international stakeholders. There is a family. There is a state. There is a party. Then there are Zambians. And, on my Facebook, I cared to write about why I truly admired President Lungu. Is that every time there was contention, he sought and chose the path of peace. He didn't want confrontation. Not that he undermined any process. Not that he allowed to be what would be the word, that his position should be weakened, but he quickly chose the path of peace. Can we quickly settle? I personally saw it when he was acting president. President Michael Sata died in the United Kingdom. That night, the president was Edgar Lungu. He called for a meeting at State House for the cabinet meeting. He says, in light of what happened, social media, there are family members in the United Kingdom. By morning, the news will break out everywhere that the president has died, and government would not have met and made this official statement. So they called for an urgent meeting, I think at 05, at best at 06. When we went at 06, remember he was acting president. Well, there was tension that built. I remember my dear brother Musa Mwenye, I hosted him on my Conversation podcast, and we dealt with this matter. Musa Mwenye came, I think he was in Livingstone. A helicopter was sent for him and the secretary to cabinet to come and convene the meeting. And when he came in the meeting, he was very categorical that this meeting can't be chaired by this man. This man has to revert to his substantive position of Minister of Justice and Minister of Defense. The Vice President, Guy Scott, is the one to chair this meeting. That's what the Constitution says. Well, the young man, Musa Mwenye, is very resolute. Other members of cabinet reminded him that, Musa, you are an ex-official, you are a mere legal advisor. You cannot bulldoze your way. But he put his foot down. He says, members of cabinet, you are risking treason if you'll allow this man to chair this meeting. I insist that we break off and we allow Guy Scott to come and have this meeting. There was anger. You know, it's like what we are experiencing currently, where emotions are high. But President Lungu put it down. He said, if the Attorney General says I should hand over power to Guy Scott, I thought we would do it in this meeting, we would discuss it. But even if my chairing is a problem, because I remain acting president, but even if my chairing is a problem, I think let's adjourn this meeting and let's come and allow Guy Scott, our vice president, to come and chair the meeting as acting president. Many that had rose in anger felt deflated and disappointed. But that was Edgar Lungu. They said, no, we've been advised. I'm a lawyer, but here I'm acting president. Our lawyer for all of us is Musa Mwenye, and he has strongly advised that we should allow Guy Scott to come and chair this meeting. So we'll adjourn and we'll meet at 09, and we hope that the vice president, who then will be acting president, will come and chair the meeting. President Lungu was scheduled to make the announcement of the official funeral. We had done a statement. Musa Mwenye insisted that even that statement would be misconstrued. So they chose a neutral person, who was Dr. Roland Musiska, or Secretary to Cabinet, to read the message. Again, there was anger. So again, President Lungu said, Ngivafine Mwalanda, Secretary to Cabinet, let him read. The message had gone that President Michael Sata had died, but it was not official anywhere. I think Movie TV at the time had broken it, but withdrew the statement. So the media were camped outside State House. So we quickly just cleared them, and Roland Musiska, who was Secretary to Cabinet, read that solemn message to the nation. He read our statement, actually, that we had prepared for Honorable Edgar Lungu, who was acting president, but we just changed it down there for Secretary to Cabinet to read it, and that's how the nation, the information was officially broken out to the media and to the country and to the world. It was read by Roland Musiska. So there are these tensions that arise. I think there was less tensions when former President Rupiah Banda died. There were contentions, but behind the scenes matters were handled. So how do we handle this? We want to Akwalesa. There are three competing interests. First, Zambian interest overrides all of us. The interest of our country override what needs to be done. What are the interests of our country? We have to remain peaceful during this period. We have to uphold the dignity of who we are as Zambians and the way we respect, infwa twalichindika sana infwa ngaya. Primary issue, the family's wishes must be respected while balancing any other interest. The family's wishes must be respected. I've been very disappointed with certain statement. Dr. Cholwe Beani, who is very senior in the UPND, who holds a very senior government position. Look what he tweeted, what he put on his Facebook. The senior people in our country ought to be responsible. He literally disparaged President Lungu, disparaged the Patriotic Front, disparaged Tonse Alliance, and he called it nonsense. Many people have seen that statement. Dr. Cholwe Beani, you are senior in government. You hold a very senior. You were recently quoted in a crisis with the census report, where you rejected the findings of a technical arm of government which is constitutional, the Zambia Statistics Agency. You embarrassed yourself and you said the president has rejected this report. And here, President Lungu dies, you've issued another careless statement. So we've had those issues. There are some UPND youths that have issued very dangerous remarks. We haven't seen the police move in or caution them or do anything. But when the family wishes to say, our president was not treated well, no, balanda tule chewa, ule losha, tawamuchewa pakanwa. If the family do not bring hatred to Makebi Zulu, Makebi Zulu is just extending the wishes of the family. The facts may be uncomfortable to you, might even embarrass a lot of people that have perpetuated this disgrace, this unjustified humiliation of the former president. It might embarrass you, so you would want to shut him up. Your duty is to listen. Your duty is to take care of their concerns. Your duty is to ensure that the passage of the next 7 days is done in a dignified manner, taking into concerns of the family, taking into the concerns of every other party. The state, caution to my members of the Patriotic Front, this is my personal view, is that the state also has a role. President Lungu was head of state. He was head of state for 7 years. And we've seen by the messages of condolences by his peers and colleagues, they quickly recognize him. They might not be aware of the intricate nature, but President Cyril Ramaphosa gave us a window that they are fully aware of what has been going on with the former president. Because in his statement of condolences to Zambia, he has stated that we were happy to host President Lungu. We were happy to facilitate. So they just didn't allow him as a private citizen. They were very active regarding his stay in South Africa. So this gives you a window that to some extent, even the region knows the humiliation, the suffering, and the embarrassment that President Lungu has been subjected to. There's a statement that was issued by my dear brother, Professor Kasonso, who's a keen supporter of President Hakainde Hichilema, who's a keen supporter of the UPND, who fought tooth and nail against Edgar Lungu. Yes, placed blame squarely on President Hakainde Hichilema and the UPND. That if you had behaved responsibly, if you had just behaved as Zambians, probably would not be where we are today. So that censure has annoyed a lot of people, especially from the UPND. But unfortunately, you have brave men like Professor Kasonso that had to spell it out the way it is. Guys, we didn't do well here. Colleagues, is a member of the UP, and he says, we haven't done well. Why would you deny the man medical treatment? What was your intention to deny him medical treatment? So again, we are glad by voices like that of Professor Kasonso. Because it's like people are quick to bandage the wound. Sometimes the wound needs to be bare. You know, but it's a lesson to all of us. What do you do in this period? So President Hakainde Hichilema has declared 7 days of national mourning as is prescribed in the law. The Secretary of Cabinet announced that President Lungu will be mourned for 7 days. I think that's a mourning period for the president. And President Hakainde Hichilema has accorded a full state funeral. Remember, we have levels of funerals. There's a state funeral. This is where you have full gun salute, 21 gun salute. You have, the state takes over. Some elements of they've already provided a place of mourning where a book of condolences will be signed, which will be Belvedere Lodge. They will finance people gathering their stay at Belvedere Lodge during this period. The day of national mourning begins tomorrow, Sunday, the 8th of June 2025, and it ends, I think, it's 7 days. I think there's 10 on Saturday. And government has acceded to the demands of the family that the body only arrives on Wednesday. So the body will only arrive on Wednesday. The announcements were made by Patrick Kangwa, who's Secretary to Cabinet. He says Belvedere Lodge is now open as a place for mourning, and there'll be 7 days of national mourning that has been given to President Edgar Lungu. The rest of the matters are incidental. I think then we are guided. We are clearly guided. The Patriotic Front opened the Secretariat on Lumumba and Panganani Road for many officials to meet. There was no place that was designated as a mourning place, as a house of mourning. So we are glad that Honorable Given Luwinda, members of the Central Committee of the PF, quickly made that decision, and it provided for a refuge and place for people to go and mourn. And many people have come and have been to the party secretariat. Today, we saw government step in and provide Belvedere Lodge. There were some early announcements about the private residence of the former president. I think that hasn't been communicated either by the family or by the party. And learning from what has happened in the past, I remember that the widow, Mama Regina Chiluba, moved from their house on Sebo Road and came to Belvedere Lodge to meet people, that all the mourners that would come to mourn there. We don't know what will be done there, but we'll see when the family arrives and what they are planning. But like what we are advised, government's duty is to yield to the demands of the family, primary, so that we conduct this funeral in a dignified manner. We know government might hold, for example, the final farewell church service, memorial service, because there will be dignitaries that will come from the region. It might likely be at the showgrounds, because I understand that Hero Stadium is undergoing rehabilitation in light of the vandalism that has gone on at Hero Stadium. So it's likely going to be at the showgrounds. But the family will have maybe another church service. We saw when President Michael Sata died. I think there were 2 services before we had the big one at the stadium. We had one at St. Ignatius, and I think we had another one at the cathedral. of the child Jesus. Then the actual day on 11th November, the funeral was taken to Heroes Stadium at the time. So there'll be interest of the party, interest of the family, interest of the state. The state will have its own role. There'll be dignitaries that will come. It might hold the final farewell church service, and we might move to Embassy Park. I was looking at the law, and I spoke to people like John Sangwa about this. So he advised that, the trouble here, we don't have a law. The only two laws that are there is, provisions in the Constitution that's very thin, and the former President's Benefits Act of 1993. They don't awesomely provide for all these issues. He cited to me that I should look at the Tanzanian law, where they've spelled out in the Constitution what happens when the former president dies, when a minister dies, or any other dignitary that the president would like to accord either a state funeral, an official funeral, or just recognition. We are currently using just both legacy issues and some regulations at Cabinet Office. We need a law like Tanzania has that clearly spells out. In Tanzania, when I was looking at the law, it's very clear. For example, if the family wishes that the allocated space where they've designated where the president who dies should lay, if there is objection to the family, like we saw some objection on Dr. Kaunda and Lev Mwanawasa, they said the family can go and bury, but an official tombstone will still be laid so that members of the family could commemorate the president at a place that will be recognized. You've seen, like for the military, it doesn't matter where you died in Vietnam, sometimes remains are not known. But there's a place where your name will be put, where your cross will be put, where your burial place will be identified. Like we've done to our heroes who died in Gabon. Maybe we didn't have all the bodies, but at least we have some remains which we know lie somewhere, and there's a tombstone that recognizes our hero. So when I look at the Tanzanian law, I realize it's moments like this where we have to do a law that prescribes all these things, because these eventualities will occur. There will be objections one day, like it was, for example, with Levi Mwanawasa, where it was in the will that he should be buried at his farm in Palavana. What we did was lawless by overruling his wishes. It was lawless. In the Tanzanian case, President Levi Mwanawasa would have been allowed to lie where he wanted, but we're still going to build his mausoleum that although the president lies here, this is where we'll do official commemoration of him. So I like the Tanzanian law. It has spelled out interest of the family, interest of the state, and any other competing interest. We need to craft a law. We need to learn from what Tanzania has done, because we are going to have our heroes die. The Zimbabwean case, they've put what is called the Heroes Square, where former freedom fighters are buried, and they've prescribed who should lie there. And we've had cases where I think some people's bodies were taken elsewhere, but in the Heroes Square, there's a grave site or a plaque or a tombstone that recognizes them for purposes of history, for purposes of legacy, and for purposes of posterity. 50 years, 100 years from now, all of us may not be there, but if Egypt, the pharaohs died 4,000 years ago, 3,500 years ago, but you know which pharaoh lay where. Or like in the case of the Pope, you would know where the Pope lie. And for Babemba, where we put our kings when they die. So there'll be those things that we have to do a thorough thinking and do a law, so that in light of a crisis like today's, you just revert to the law, and Zambians will have done the thinking, and it will be done. Today is Saturday. I'll invite you to make your contributions, and we can close quickly. It was an update, and the update is very clear. Let me play what has been decided. So the mortal remains of the former president will arrive on Wednesday, the 11th. Before his arrival, it will be preceded by a church service in South Africa. Father Chungu, Father Harrison, very prominent Zambian Catholic priest cleric in South Africa, are probably already working on that, having been in South Africa and how they work. The body arrives on Wednesday. The state takes over. The state has said gatherings and books of condolences will be at Belvedere Lodge, and other details will be communicated to us. So, Chanoda Ngwira, my dear brother, you can now call. You probably had something to say. It's the right time now for you to call and contribute. Yeah, I'm just waiting for the calls. There have been various calls. Please call if you have any contributions to make.
Fellow countrymen and women, this is an address on behalf of the family of President Edgar Lungu, the 6th Republican President of the Republic of Zambia. Between yesterday and today, we have had occasion to meet the government of the Republic of Zambia, represented by Honorable Lambo Haimbe. In our meetings, they requested to hear what the position of the family was as regards.
Just hold on. I want to put you online. Please introduce yourself and tell us your name and and make your contributions.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, I'm calling from Zimbabwe, Ecl'S. Okay. So, I just want to mourn our president, Edgar Lungu, and mourn with our people of Zambia. And thank you for the update, Comrade Emmanuel Mamba. But also to ask you, why are you omitting the violence that President Lungu and also the disinformation campaign that he was running against Zimbabweans? We've got 16 million Zimbabweans, most of them are in the diaspora, because of the collaboration that President Lungu was running with Emerson Mnangagwa, which started with the deportation.
My dear brother, let me just guide. Simba, just a minute. Let me guide.
Thank you. Because you never mentioned these issues. I live in the diaspora, Honorable Mamba, right now. I live outside my own country. Even Zambia, I cannot visit Zambia right now. I only briefly visited. I can't even right now because of the chaos that President Lungu left your country in.
Okay. So Simba, let me guide. Just let me guide. Will you listen? Who's hosting the program?
Yeah, sorry?
Who's hosting the program? I am hosting, isn't it?
It is yourself.
Yeah. So before I let me guide.
That there was abuse against President Lungu. Right now, I'm still, my people, over 10 million Zimbabweans are in the diaspora.
I am in the diaspora as well.
So why not mention?
Okay.
So that's not diaspora. That is abuse. That is human rights abuses. Why aren't you telling the UN rapporteurs, those UN officials, also the violence that we are suffering right now? My people are suffering in the diaspora right now.
Okay.
You know what, Honorable Mamba? I stayed in President Lungu's home. Did you know that? Physically.
Oh, that's good.
In September 2022, I stayed in a lodge called Cresta Lodge in Lusaka. And I thought this is privately owned. I only discovered after I left that my visit to Lusaka, it was actually to a property that President Lungu bought from suspicious proceeds. I had no clue. And I even visited President Lungu. The last phone call to President Lungu while he was in office was by me on 13 August 2021 when he had switched off the internet from Zambians.
No. Just hold on. Will you listen to me first? My brother, listen. Let me be very resolute. No. Okay, let me guide. He's speaking alone. Let me guide. He's a member of the opposition in Zimbabwe. He's a member of the opposition. I know him very well. Of the opposition yeah. I put you away because I wanted you to come down and listen to me first. I recognize that you're a member of the opposition in Zimbabwe. I recognize that you have grievances in Zimbabwe. How members of the opposition are treated. This is a long-standing issue from 2008. However, as you have seen, you will not use this platform to bring partisan issues affecting Zimbabwe. We can go, just wait. So I will not allow him or any other person. We can bring a program. He wants us, this brother of ours from Zimbabwe, from the opposition in Zimbabwe, wants President Lungu to that we should recognize the violence that has occurred in Zimbabwe. There are partisan issues in Zimbabwe, and I think those are not the time for us to discuss them. So please call. The number is listed there. My brother, I'm inviting that caller. I can bring up a program. Let's discuss Zimbabwe and the politics in the region. I'm in exile right now. I'm exiled from my country, but I'll not bring up that issue now. I want to burn and explain to you why I'm outside the country. You know, there are issues happening in Zimbabwe. If you want us to come and discuss that, I can schedule a program, but you will not ambush this program to come and, and then attempt to scandalize President Lungu. No, that I will not allow. I think that would be disrespectful to President Lungu and to our country as Zambia. We say highly emotive period, and I will not allow that we use this platform to discuss the crisis, for example, in Zimbabwe. That I refuse. Hello, please tell us your name and where you are calling us from. I just had a brother from Zimbabwe who's aggrieved with President Emerson Mnangagwa and ZANU PF, and he thinks that President Lungu was acquiescing, to the issues in Zimbabwe. But let us be on the subject. Please introduce yourself and make your contribution.
My name is Kabongo.
Yes.
And I am calling from Nyansphere. I heard the brother from Zimbabwe. I think, first of all, what I would say is we are all Africans.
Yeah.
And we've got a certain tradition. I think all Africans, our traditions are almost the same.
Yeah.
Ngatwakwatie chiro tuvula vyonse fikanza nokupusana twafika kumbali. Then twalosha ngatwalosha elyo numba twabika omutembo w'abantu abafwire twashika ngatwashika bambi kulaba ati babwera ku kiriro babwera ku nshishi ero basateeka
isambo lya
nfwa ero balalanda abantu nomba nshishi befyona yike ku Zambia. I'm sorry to be a little bit sarcastic. And I'm going to mention these names. Chirufya Tayari, Simon Mwewa, achitakuwa titafyalwa ku bantu abakalamba Simon Mwewa. If he's listening, afira kwata matwi. Fira fi wax if yaba matwi atampyo kula umfwa. Tetimule lande fi abuwele wele pamfwa. Ero nomba mwala asuka fira balanda muchibe mbati mwakwati chasakanwa. No. Tusire twashika. Ero nomba twamba kula muna nomba. Ngefifi alishani. Chimbi. chimbi chichilea kuli bakateka
Mm.
bakateka nangu mwapusana shani n'abantu bonse twafyalwa ku bantu
Yeah.
whether muli batonga muli babemba muli balozi olutambi twakwata firumu
Mm.
omuntu ng'afwa fyonse firefo twalepusana
Mm.
tufibika kumbali
Mm.
bakateka bahakayinde yirema
Mm.
okufimba omutima kabiri n'okukosa omutima
Mhm.
alate ebuntu tetumusunga ekyalo.
Mm.
I'm sorry, I'm going to take a little bit of some time, but I'll be quick.
Mm.
If you're charged, often I live, don't we have to pocket it in for
Mm.
then I limonati wakateka, alabula phone, and I've seen a lot of press singers. I don't know if it is the right way that I can use.
Yeah.
And if you have in Zambia,
Mm.
but then under yo, abana babalungu na family yabo nabayisendire ikisendo
Mm.
bakateka tabeshi wepo na ngufimu bakateka bali kwata management kairi bali kwata secret service
Yeah.
ilyo balungu bali kulya nolo bafuma pa chivi nganda bayamukuputuka bale ishiba bakateka ati lungu lero na yamukuputuka.
Yeah.
Elyo bafire. I think he was the first person to be notified.
Yeah.
Bamwamba mwalikala sana munani kane mu diplomatic service. You know how this thing works.
Yeah.
He was the first person to be notified.
Yeah.
The least that he would have got to send a phone.
Mm.
Eh?
Mm.
Ba mtinda wesu.
Mm.
Kwenda abakamba abandi batushoko.
Mm.
Nomba umfa mukashwandi installa chita. Ula phone.
Yeah.
Bandana ba esta.
Yeah.
Iyo nane lekambule phone twishiyo futwala chita.
Mm.
Ngabamona tupali upusano.
Mm.
Kuvula phone nokutuma mayo kwena ifyachitika masanso aya yachitika yatusanga.
Mm.
Uyu mukamba wandi nangu twale pusana twale umana apeka ile fibili tafibula kushenkana.
Mm.
Ifi fyonse na papata fipose ni kumbali.
Yeah.
Ichichiliro chandi.
Mm.
Tomongo mwaije wakwe.
Mm.
Ichichiliro echi chandi lekeni mbulo yumtembo ne mwini ndisemfishe tulile kumu.
Mm.
Kata pali na ngumo. Pali nomba ole ilishanyo kwe bati yo bakateka na abachitashani bakateka na abachitashani. Ali omukalamba wa mukyalo ngafwa. The best that you do, whether it will take 24 hours for you to announce, kateko mwine ufile wa aleta nani recording no kulanda kwena tawarufi omukalamba wandi.
Yeah.
Natusanswa pano. But you can't let the people like Gavana Kawana and all these tanks kulanda fyabu wele.
Mm.
You know?
Mm.
Ichichiliro na ngula family yape na shani. Ngabali bapero muchinchi. Na fyonza tiyo bali balekereshe bali na fyonze finga tapali.
Mm.
Ngakwali fe yawe kwena tata na umfu alike ninjikale na bakamba banenu. Tumfo twala chita.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ichichiliro bahaka inde ngabale umfwa. Inshita numba twalaba chetekera shani maka tusunga shani ku Zambia. Bantu babamina mutwalanda pano pene. Twalibomba tulashita shani tuse ku Zambia kuline tukwete ko nangula fimo fya kuchita. Nomba mwaya kwata abantu abawere bamunga Simon wa mperwa mano. Umuntu chita kwata fyalo kunganda ya mafunde. Ero mukamwe bata sebanya fya bafyashi bakwe ngata.
Oh yeah, his father, Mr. Mwewa, the former mayor, distinguished man, or proper dignitary, you know, proper traditionalist. Mm.
Exactly.
Mm.
Mwewa kwali na ba shukuru ba what's his name again? The Bafolotia.
Yeah.
Those people bali aba muchinshi bali kweti olupia nomba kwenda bali sungire ntambi. Tetumkwate fiwere nga bamwewa nabema nabamutobereri bwe bali shamu bantinenga na ile bula fyo blogo na mtu apakati pamu kuchala.
Aba bakabungo malaipa ya bantu bakabungo malaipa ya bantu. The program is let me allow other callers and thank you for the guidance Wakabungo that you've given. And this is what we want. I think Zambia comes first. And like you were saying, our traditions come first. Thank you very much. Let me take other calls. Yeah. My dear brother from Zimbabwe keeps on calling back. I think I will not take. I've invited him. There's something happening in the region, whether it's in Zambia, whether it's in Uganda, whether it's in Zimbabwe. We can come and put out this debate of how ruling parties, opposition, and how Africans are living in the diaspora, how they are mistreated in their own countries. Sometimes Western colonial governments treated us. We can come and have that debate, but I will not allow you to come and scandalize President Lungu on this program. You are taking away the very things we are trying to manage during this. Like the other callers stated, it's an emotive period, but how do we balance out all the interest? So please call and let's be guided that way. We are discussing, for me, I've called it, it has to be like a tripartite funeral. You have to take interest of the state. You have to take interest of the family, especially the family. You have to take the interest of Zambians. Then, we mourn properly. Good evening. Please tell us your name and where you are calling from. And please be brief. As you can hear, there are many calls in the background.
Yeah, my name is Justin Lupinda from South Africa.
Mr. Justin Lupinda, good evening.
Good evening. How are you, Ambassador?
I'm very well, sir. Please make your contribution.
Yes, I just entered this program, but I don't know the original topic. But from what I heard from that gentleman who called you from Australia,
yeah,
I just wanted to respond to that.
Okay.
He started by saying, no, he's blaming Chirufya Tayali and then Mr. Mwewa and all that.
Yeah.
I thought it's the other way around. That guy must be corrected. The government has come in and all the people, he blamed the president and all that, and all those things have been done. But I thought he should blame Makebi Zulu, Mr. Nakachinda, and the other one, what's his name? Mr. Given Lubinda. Those are the people who are causing confusion. You see, they're advising the family, the Lungu family, wrongly. Especially Makebi Zulu. He has been advising the Lungu family.
Justin. Let me answer you.
Closeness and advice from Makebi Zulu.
Okay.
So these guys must bear. Even up to now, they're advising the family wrongly, and the family now have gone into another direction of refusing the government to take over the funeral.
You have a lot of misinformation. You know that's not true.
This is not uncalled for.
No, Justin. You know that's misinformation. I think listen to the program. Justin. Oh my God. Our dear brother is not listening. Mr. Justin Samuel Lupinda from South Africa. He has just joined the program. I think he hasn't heard. Let me quickly summarize for those that have just joined in. We started by playing the video from the family, Makebi Zulu. He stated out the grievances of the family and the conditions they had set out. And the conditions, I think the primary one has been met, that there were two issues. They wanted President Lungu to be accorded an opportunity to be mourned by people in South Africa, and Justin, I would invite you to go to that church service, and that the body should arrive in Zambia on Wednesday. I think the primary issues from the family so far have been met. Government wanted the body to be repatriated today or tomorrow. The family put his foot down that, look, we have acceded to a church service in South Africa, and that the president his remains will be repatriated to Zambia on Wednesday. So I think the primary issues out of these two meetings that took place between Mulambo Haimbe and the family went very well. So I would not say Makebi Zulu is misleading the president. Let me come to the party. The party has its own program and has its own interest. You ought to separate the needs of the family from the needs of the party. The party acting president, Given Lubinda, there was a vacuum. He provided leadership. He opened the secretariat. To date, President Hakainde Ecl'S has not spoken. The first official statement has come almost 48 hours later from Secretary to Cabinet. Did you want a vacuum to exist? I commend the party. They stepped in. They provided leadership. The statement by Raphael Nakachinda is coming from the party. Nakachinda is facing 20 cases. We have members of parliament. We've lost seats. Nakachinda is speaking on behalf of the party. And they have grievances against the government of President Hakainde, including speaking for his own president, who's Edgar Lungu. And he reiterated the issues that he has gone through, that including the medical treatment, that it has come far too late, 3 years later, that's when the treatment has come. Nakachinda is in an official place as the Secretary General of the Patriotic Front to speak in the manner he spoke. Today we had Secretary to Cabinet speaking. He says we've provided Belvedere Lodge and that the remains of the president will come on Wednesday. And, the state, will provide a 7-day national mourning as declared by President Hakainde Hichilema. Are you going to blame government for that? Government is also playing its role. President Hakainde Hichilema ought to be a father of everyone. He's the current head of state. And he has declared 7 days of national mourning as prescribed by our traditions when our presidents die. And he has provided Belvedere Lodge as a place for of mourning, where a book of condolences will be opened and where you and I could also go. So for me, but Justin, I don't want you to blame Given Lubinda. I don't want you to blame. There are elements that have been irresponsible. Can we be responsible? All of us. Bonze not to chena. Somewhere not to chena. But in all our grievances, can we ensure that the next 7 days is upheld, taking into interest everyone else? Oh my God, there are calls and calls. So let me take the calls. Please switch off your device or mute your device and make your contributions.
Hello?
Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Yes, my name is Peter. I'm calling from South Africa.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Peter.
Yes, I just wanted to find out I have a few comments and I want to at least advise people. This time is not time of blaming each other. It's time of mourning. So according to me, what I wanted to ask is, I want to know the place that the place where the service will take place in South Africa, the date and the time.
Okay. Thank you very much. I will answer you, Peter. Please resort to your device. So a church service has been called for Tuesday in South Africa. I think Father Chungwa and Father Harrison are handling this matter for the Zambian community. Ferdinand Simanya, I think, is president of Zambians in South Africa. I think they will quickly make the notice by today or tomorrow. So please get in touch with your leadership in South Africa. Banema Bombeni.
Hello, Amamba.
Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from and make your contribution.
Mr. Mamba.
Yo nabo mbalanden mkwai.
Hello, Ambassador Mamba.
We can hear you very clearly. Make your contribution, my brother.
Ambassador Mamba Mawomben.
Vane, I can hear you. Just proceed. Proceed.
Hello.
Oh. Proceed.
Ambassador Mamba Maroshen.
Endita yama badishani.
Hello, Ambassador.
Oh my God. Hello, good evening. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from. Good evening. Please be brief. Tell us your name and where you are calling us from. The phone is buzzing. I would like you to be brief.
Okay, you never call a man to one speak in South Africa.
Oh, yes, Wankole.
Yeah, I wanted to find out, I'm trying to make a follow-up about the program for South Africa, the church. So I don't know if you have any program for
I've just advised that quickly get in touch with Ferdinand Smanya. I think he's still the president of Zambians in South Africa, and I'm aware that Father Chungu and Father Harrison are handling this matter, looking for a premises. It is a community in South Africa that will do this. The role of the family will only be to facilitate that the remains of the president are brought to that church service that you are going to have.
Okay, thank you so
So
much.
as a community, you have WhatsApp groups. Please get in touch with each other, find out the preparations. And you are vulnerable, Makebi Zulu, I can send you the number privately. But I think there are coordination that are being done.
Okay, please do that. Just send me the number for that one, then I'll be able to. Thank you for your updates. I've been following this from the time because I've been I've been in Zambia. I was in Woodlands there. I've been with that is those are my friends mostly. So I came here and.
My condolences, my dear brother.
Yeah,
My condolences.
I didn't even believe until today because it was like it hit me that like bad.
Yeah.
Anyway, just send me that number, then we'll be able to.
Yeah, and on your WhatsApp group, the information must be available. Get in touch with Father Harrison, Father Chungu, and Ferdinand Smanya.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, please. Good evening. Please tell us your name quickly and make your contribution.
We're calling from the UK.
Okay.
We're just happy to hear that you're giving us an update of what is happening, and all we just encourage is you, as being a diplomat, give a message of peace to the nation. That's all that we want, and thanks for the update.
Thank you very much. Thank you. My dear brother, please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Okay, this is Sensho Banda.
Honorable Sensho Banda, please make your contribution.
Okay, sure. Firstly, is that as a country, we are passing through a defining moment. And one thing for sure is that we've lost a former head of state, brother, and a father. And as such, I think there must be lessons learned as regard what has happened to the former president.
Yeah.
Rightly so, because this information is out there in the public in the manner in which his health was handled.
Yeah.
Yes, people could have claimed that actually he came back into politics and all that, but he was a former head of state.
Yeah.
And health is critical for everyone, be it in opposition, ruling party, even those you differ with. And that is water under the bridge. And we cannot deny that the health of the former president was mishandled. That is the fact.
Yeah.
And as such, like you have guided that actually there was a meeting which was called for, and the issues have been put to bed, and the remains of the former president will be coming on Wednesday.
Yeah.
But for me, what worries me is that I don't know whether this UPND government has had a lesson learned through this circumstance. We might not have similar circumstances in the future, but we might have a similar nature, which will require leadership, which will require humility, which will require forthwith in terms of feeling on behalf of the people. Because when you're in government, you don't manage things for your own sake. You manage public affairs on behalf of the people.
True.
And when you're dealing with matters, you must step down on your high shoes, feeling in the shoes in which the people you're leading in, feeling those shoes and lead accordingly.
Yeah.
You know. So for me, I cannot say much. We are mourning, and we've lost our former president, and I think it's a time that yes, things have gone wrong, but the president should provide leadership.
Yeah.
In fact, for me, I anticipated that actually he should have been the one to announce the funeral and the passing on of the president, not the secretary to cabinet. as it were, because he was the former head of state. So for me, I will not say much, but the truth of the matter, things went wrong. The health of the former president was mishandled. Things would have been done better than the way they were done. You know, an extent, for argument's sake, where the former head of state is meant to disembark a plane. You know, it's quite painful.
Pulled
to an
off from
extent
the plane.
where, you know, pulled out from the plane, and the extent whereby when I was going, he literally sneaked through.
Yes.
To be able to go to South Africa.
We had to buy a ticket at the last minute. He just turned up at the airport.
How humane can we be? We can differ in ideals. At the end of the day, we are human. We one Zambia, one nation.
Thank you. Honorable Sensual Banda, let me take other calls.
The Bible says that love your neighbor as you love yourself. Where is this even as you are managing our politics? I think we can do better. Those are my thoughts.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Honorable Sensual Banda, a wise man from the East, and he has provided good thoughts. Thank you, Honorable Sensual Banda. We have this next 7 days to manage as a country. There are issues. I agree with Honorable Sensual Banda. President Hakainde Hichilema should have spoken. It's been 48 hours. In fact, what we've seen is in Southern Province, and is scheduled to officiate at an event to do with Kazungula Water and Sanitation Project. I think that such a program should be cancelled, and the president should have spoken. I gave myself an example. When President Frederick Chiluba died, you know, the doctor called me 5 minutes after midnight, and I was living in Villa. The president used to live in Kablonga. And the doctor called me that they had been managing him from around 21 hours, and, you know, they had lost him. I had a lot of questions, but as soon as I arrived, the administrative skills kicked in immediately. I said, number one question, who have you informed? So Dr. Justin Kango said, we called you. You know, you are the one that does these things. So I'd arrived like 15 minutes later after the president had died. The first person I called was Secretary to Cabinet, Dr. Joshua Kanganja. And I'm glad that he actually answered the call. This was after midnight. This was like now midnight 30. I called him, he answered, and he said, have you informed State House? The President Rupia Banda, was in Chipata. He gave me a hotline where I could reach Bob Samakai, who was like Chief of Staff for President Rupia Banda. And he said, the next person you call after you've called State House, call, because you have an unfortunate event, I'm going to call the Inspector General of Police, but call the University Teaching Hospital, the Director General, to come and handle the issue of the body. They should send experts, come and formally certify and take custody of the body. So that's what I did. I first informed the president through Bob Samakai. This was midnight 30, and I called UTH. I think it was Dr. Mwaba then. And lucky enough, everyone, even if it was dead in the night, they picked up the call. I was blamed that I announced the death of the president instead of President Rupia Banda. This is the sequence of events. When there was a medical crisis, the children ran out and came to the gate and announced, call the ambulance, call the ambulance. The police at the gate, they didn't know how. They just dialed on an open line police. So within a minute, nearly the entire security forces knew that there was a crisis at Dr. Chiluba's residence. So the information went out, but I tried hard to manage it for almost 4 hours. There was no announcement from Chipata. By 04, the entire media were camped outside, and I remember Faith Kandawa was the first one to arrive. So I confirmed, just prior confirmation, and I said likely the state will issue a statement in the morning. That was at 04. So it's been almost 48 hours and President Hakainde Hichilema has not spoken. And like Honorable Sencho Banda says, all we have seen is Secretary to Cabinet make the announcement. And it appears like President Hakainde Hichilema may proceed with his program in Kazungula. I think it is advised for those that are close to President Hakainde Hichilema that program can wait. Bachilufia.
Yes, Mama.
It's an emotional day. Please, we want to hear from you. Please make your contribution. Bachilufia Patrick is a regular supporter, is an activist based in the United Kingdom, and is a regular caller to this program. Bachilufia, you're Landeni.
Yeah, Mama, thank you so much, and thank you so much for guiding and updating the nation. Yeah, Mama, Balanda apa freelance of Neria Shiva Mushi Yashianso.
I'm crying.
Yeah, and my condolences to the Lungu family.
Thank you.
But again, Mama, Muntunga Afwa, Ngatafuire, we know there are still lessons to be learned.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Where the truth has to come in the open.
Yeah.
And I've seen a lot of people, this is not politics. And I think this is the time for Zambians to learn that if you reach Zambia, they feel
normal.
Ifikala chimbwe, they feel Zambians have been people who are united. One Zambia, one nation.
True.
Are people who love each other. In death, in life, people who love each other. But the way Zambia is going under the leadership of HH and UPND is alarming. I'll give you an example. When Mwanawasa had asked Parliament to remove immunity of Achiruba, there were two cases going on, one in London, the civil case, and the criminal case in Zambia, probably in Ndola High Court.
Yeah.
When Chiluba was told, Mwanawasa was told by Chiluba Nabalwala, Mwanawasa stopped everything. Despite all that, he went to see Chiluba.
Yeah.
And you know that, Mamamba.
Yes.
And he instructed government to take Chiluba to South Africa.
Yeah.
This is a person who was charged. Edgar Lungu wasn't charged. Why, to start with, why was Edgar Lungu under house arrest?
Yeah.
Because as a nation, the government has to be responsible to the stakeholders. Us. They need to tell us why Edgar Lungu was not allowed to travel.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. Why did the state knew? Myself, I'm not a government. I knew that Edgar Lungu has been going to Mill Park Hospital since 2015.
Yeah.
You tell me the state didn't know.
Yeah.
The state knew. So the state wanted Lungu to die. Yeah. Why did they want Lungu to die? Why? Why would you want another person to die? Even a criminal has rights under, in human rights. Even a criminal deserves to be treated with dignity and respect. And this is where leadership, this government has failed in leadership. Pamwamba, in leadership, a leader not only needs to have character, he needs to have virtues. Virtues, empathy, compassion, sacrificial love, forgiveness. We are in trouble.
Yeah.
A leader who does not have empathy, compassion. Lungu, despite being a former president, was a subject to was also in Zambia.
Yeah.
So if Lungu, who was a former president, would be treated like that, what about you and me, Mama?
Yeah.
Who are ordinary people?
True.
So God has a way of exposing people. This government has been exposed, And they need to come in the open and apologize and put things properly. And then going forward, the law regarding former presidents, entitlements and everything, I think the Constitution, not what they're doing now, amendments. We need a proper constitutional review. Where all these things should be looked into, because that law is vague. I remember you were talking about Tanzania, very clear. You know, so UPND promised in their manifesto that they are going to give us a people constitution, a people-driven constitution. And then they're coming up with an amendment. So, Bamwamba, and then the president dies. HH should have announced this. Immediately HH died. And then the ACA died.
Correct.
It has for 8 days. Now it's the secretary of the cabinet. What legacy are we leaving to the future people, future Zambians? And Bamwamba, never should this happen to any president. The only president we've got now living is HH. And HH won't live forever. He will be out. Whoever comes as a president, they shouldn't make this mistake. They shouldn't do this to HH.
Mkalambawandi, thank you very much. Let me take some other calls as well.
Thank you, Bamwamba.
Thank you.
Stop now, Bamwamba.
Yes, indeed. That's the purpose of this program. I like his reference to Dr. Chiluba. He's right. In 2006, we first, Dr. Chiluba had been unwell from 2004. And we tried to hide the sickness because, task force was on his case. People around him were all arrested, arraigned. Some were already in prison. And it was a very difficult period for Dr. Chiluba. But by 2006, it had become terrible. And me and Honorable Doughton Sokontwe, twasapangana fyat namushwa, wakateka bala tufuila. So me and Doughton said, who in this hostile government? Because Mwanawasa's government had come very heavy-handed on Dr. Chiluba. But we said, who in this government can listen to us? Doughton Sokontwe, he was member of parliament for Chembe, said, no, Kalombo Mwansa. I think, first of all, he's very reasonable, Dr. Kalombo Mwansa. Two, I think President Mwanawasa listens to him. I can't remember whether he was defense minister or home affairs minister. So we went to see Dr. Kalombo Mwansa under that hostile environment. But Kalombo Mwansa opened the doors for us. Tosa watudi leriash. Au wakateka tabalala wino. He's been going for treatment the last 2 years, from 2004 to 2006. But things are becoming worse. Kalombo Mwansa said, you people should have come earlier. And within an hour, President Mwanawasa, who we thought was a political enemy to Dr. Chiluba, President Mwanawasa and the First Lady, Maureen, were at the gate. I remember it's Darlington who called me and said, Urikwisa, the president will be coming just now, go and prepare. I went to the residence, informed it looked not real, but I was told that the president will be coming to see President Chiluba. President Chiluba was even reluctant to see him. You can imagine the humiliation that he had gone through, the harassment. Even that day, he was in bed, he wasn't feeling all right. But I said, the president, I've been informed, and Darlington says the president will be arriving soon. And within a few minutes, I'm on the Africa to Isulama Gate, and there was President Mwanawasa. I received President Mwanawasa and the First Lady, and they came to see Dr. Chiluba. And Mwanawasa's words were very clear. Why didn't you tell me, Mr. President? You're my older brother. And when you see in person, sometimes ama cameras, they hide, ama cameras telanga how to the extent someone is unwell. And when he looked at President Chiluba, he said, no, you're not well. He said, Mr. President, when I was told by Dr. Kalombo Mwansa that you are not well, I've called President Thabo Mbeki, and they are ready to take you to a military hospital. Today, I have directed Zambia Air Force to airlift you and take you to South Africa for medical treatment. These, in the eyes of the people, these were great enemies, Chiluba and Mwanawasa. But see how he responded when it became a matter of health. President Mwanawasa was later to repeat the same issue when President Michael Sata was unwell and suffered a heart attack and was admitted at CFB. I was there. I was there with, I think Madam Christine Kasaba can tell you, and others. And Simon Miti came. Simon Miti was PS Ministry of Health, came to look at the condition, went, and within an hour, preparations for the evacuation of Michael Sata started. If people remember the acrimonious relationship between Sata and Levi Mwanawasa, do you think that that could have happened? But when it came to the life of a president, see how Mwanawasa moved to Dr. Chiluba. Despite the immense hostility between them, and were given, a plane, an air ambulance, as a first that day to go to a military hospital. So Dr. Chiluba said, no. What you do is give me 2-3 days. But you're not home, Mr. President. No, give me 3 days. First, let me arrange. I've got my own doctors that I see. They're at a small hospital called Garden City in Mayfair. Let me arrange that I be taken there, and let's just prepare. And so we went 2-3 days later after that initial. But when President Mwanawasa came to see Dr. Chiluba, he had already spoken to President Thabo Mbeki. He had already arranged a military hospital. The same doctors that treat the President of South Africa were arranged and prepared to come and treat Dr. Chiluba. Efikala abantu. Like many people are saying, we should use this opportunity as a lesson to all of us. Where are we going wrong? We can be political enemies, but there are things that are bigger than us. The health and wealth of our country, Zambia. The country, Zambia, comes first. And there are things we should do as Zambians before we behave partisan and narrow every time. My sister, I don't know if you are a sister, but his profile picture shows a picture of a woman. Please introduce yourself and tell us where you are calling from.
I'm a sister. I'm Sister Queen Monde Mugotana. I'm from Zambia, but I live here in Seattle.
Oh, wonderful. You are in the United States.
Yeah.
My dear sister, you've been listening to this program. Please make your contributions quickly.
Yeah, my contribution is I just want to thank God for everything. And I just want to say my condolences to the First Lady, Bamayo, and the family, and to the PF family, and to Tonsef family. We are together, although we are Tulukutali, but we are together. Otherwise, what I wanted to say is, Balungu has passed a lot of things. No, I hear one day he says, why have you imprisoned me? I'm under arrest in my own house. In my own country, I can't move. I can't be free. But life is not supposed to be like that. Life to Zambia. I remember that time for Bachiruba. I remember that when the time Chiluba died, I remember what happened. But if you don't have to you have to show remorse. You have to go home. Humble yourself. Politics. But now we have seen to President Akainde if tulanda ti ikintu ekyo wekede kumaboko kukiwakiposa
landa mukilozi ilande mukilozi
ati mwasozi kulera kuti so swele kwa mazo wakona kusiyumba bashama pilu au siyumbi
ni shangwe
yeah. So nde meaning ati nga walikwata grudge kumunobe Nangwalikwata natural impact yo before waba fina mumutima mumove. Kwena tetu chinje. Nangwa abantu balandesha, nangwa abantu bakalandesha ntawakachinje. But ngama politics uleta pretend. This is not right to me. I think let me be a human being.
Yeah.
He could have called the family. He could have stood with the people of Zambia. And show himself remorse. Now, how can she my politics? It was the way he was doing, the way he was saying, the way he was saying. He said a lot of things about our beloved president, Ecl'S.
Yeah.
He said a lot of things, which means the former Zambian wants so we know. But we thought that maybe it was politics. But now we know. Ati only a wound a Zambian, whether ube ku diaspora, ube kuisa, but a Zambian, ufide wakwato, umutima wabu Zambian, uwa buntu, ati washara ku antuta, washara kumbwa awe. And even the people were saying a lot of things about Ecl'S. I'm so surprised because Ecl'S, they had for people.
Yeah.
He has died because of people. He has died for the Zambian people. So for now, why can't we respect him?
Yeah. Thank you, my dear sister. Thank you very much for your contribution, and thank you to Amfako Amashu Yawana Mayo. The women bring peace. So thank you for that contribution. There are lessons sometimes we just refuse to learn from. I've just given an example of how President Levi Mwanawasa responded to the sickness of Dr. Chiluba. In fact, every time Dr. Chiluba requested to go for medical treatment, he was scandalized in newspaper that he was feigning illness, that he wanted to run away. Until it became critical, me and Honorable Dalton Sokontwe just went to face Kalombo Mwanza and said, twala kwa tobo afya wala tufikira bakateka. And it would not be nice. This was 2006. And within an hour, President Mwanawasa and the First Lady turned up at the residence of Dr. Chiluba and offered to evacuate him that afternoon. And he said he had made arrangements with Thabo Mbeki. And when Michael Sata was a strong, remember Michael Sata 2006, he had one MP. He came from nowhere and became the largest opposition, displacing the UPND. He was such a thorn in the flesh of President Levi Mwanawasa. But that fateful day in 2008, when he suffered a heart attack and he was at CFB, President Mwanawasa sent Simon Miti. I think people have heard the narration that Simon Miti makes about that matter. And Sata, despite being a huge political opponent of President Mwanawasa, he was evacuated to South Africa and his life was saved. Tell us your name and where you are calling us from, and please mute your device.
Hi, Honorable Mwamba. Good evening.
Good evening. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
My name is Martha. I'm calling you from within Lusaka.
Yes, Martha. Kindly, quickly make your contributions.
Okay, I'm not making contribution. Just want to get some clarity on the funeral arrangement. Is it going to be like the way it was when President Sata died, or in terms of like maybe the body viewing? The arrangements, are they going to be like the way it was when we had the funeral for President Sata, or it will be different this time around? Okay,
thank you. Let me answer you. Just tune in and answer and hear from your device. So I endeavored earlier in the program, for those that have just joined us, to elaborate that the interest of the party, interest of the family, primarily to be respected. Then there are roles and functions the state will perform during this funeral. One of them is that the president who's the head of state of our country, President Hakainde Hichilema, has declared 7 days of national mourning, and he has accorded President Edgar Lungu a state funeral. So the next 7 days, we're supposed to play solemn music, cancel sports event, cancel all entertainment during the period of the 7 days. And government has proceeded to provide Belvedere Lodge as a place, official place of mourning. This is where dignitaries, where people, all of you can gather. Looking at how we have dealt with the other presidents, Frederick Chiluba, Rupia Banda, Mike Osata, there is likely going to be a program in between the 7 days. As soon as the body arrives, government will likely inform you what will happen. This could be that they might take maybe for 1 day or 2 days the body into Mlungushi, where it lies in state, where ordinary people can queue up and see. Government will determine how Zambians will participate in the mourning. For the family, they've already elaborated with what their needs were. They said they needed the body to come only on the 11th. Government wanted the body to arrive today or tomorrow, but the family said, no, we have acceded to a request by the community in South Africa that wishes to mourn President Lungu, and we are going to allow them to arrange that church service, and the remains of the president will be brought to that church. There will be that church service, and on Wednesday, the first lady, the widow, and the family will accompany the body, and they'll come to Lusaka on 11th June 2025. The particular consolidated program, remember, this is a consultative process. This is a consultative process. Even when government has a right to host it, even if the family can say, no, we want our father, our grandfather, our uncle to be mourned this way. Again, it's a consultative process. So there'll be a program from the family. There might be a program from the party, as the party has led already, as announced by Given Lubinda, who designated 7 days of national mourning, of party mourning, and he also designated the secretariat as a place of mourning. And it has been a place of mourning until today. The party might decide to still keep the secretariat, maybe for members and for others. You must have seen the videos across the country where PF members are meeting at our party offices and they are mourning. We even had the matter I was dealing with in Mambwe district, where the police commissioner has stopped the PF from mourning at a former district official's home. That's irregular, and they should allow people to mourn whichever way they want to mourn. Not everyone can come to Lusaka. Not everyone can come to Mlungushi. Not everyone can come to Belvedere or to the party secretariat. So I bothered to answer you that. I think it was very important that I answer Martha with that issue, and also for the others that have joined us. I should have left within an hour of this program, but looking at the huge response and the number of calls that I've received, I think this is a burning issue in our country, and people want to air their views, vent out, and see how we manage ourselves in the next 7 days. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from. Oh, he's gone. He's gone. Oh, we should be stopping at the hour, which is now. I think we've gone on for almost 3 hours. We should be winding up. I'll take a few phone calls and then we can wind up. Good evening. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
You're talking to Brian. I'm calling you from Lusaka.
Brian, good day. Please make your contributions.
Mr. Momba, what is happening in our country is a very sad situation. When you read even some responses that are coming from the so-called press singers, it makes even the situation sadder. This should make our president sad to look at some of the people that the character that are encouraging from people. Now, what happened to our former president is very unfair. Whatever way you look at it, they just simply need to accept that they erred and apologize if need be and do the right thing. Otherwise, this should not happen to any former leader. What happened to Mr. Lungu, and it has affected a lot of people. People are not talking because of the cyber laws and everything, but otherwise it's a very sad situation. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Brian, for your contributions. Today we were mourning President Edgar Lungu, Zambia's 6th president. He died at the age of 69 in South Africa while receiving medical treatment in South Africa. He's been receiving treatment in South Africa since January 2025 when he quickly sneaked in out of the country. This is before, this is prior to when his doctors came from South Africa and looked at him and persuaded him that he needed to get to South Africa as soon as possible. We lost him on this day. There were events today that took place. The family had its meeting and made the announcement. This is after the meeting they had with government, and they made a press conference in Johannesburg in South Africa, and we saw the Secretary to Cabinet speak. President Hakainde Hichilema has not spoken. We saw a Facebook posting he did on the day of the demise, but look, it's so impersonal. So usually people love an address, especially in light of the former president or president. For all those that called, I've said, let me take the last 3 phone calls. Wanted to send me while I know wanted to lay Losha. We might stay vigil up to tomorrow morning, but I need to end the program and we can discuss on Monday. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from. Uh-oh. The line is not connecting. Sorry. I'll take the last 3 calls. Let's see. Hope it connects. Hello, tell us your name and where you are calling us from. Oh. Good day. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Hello. Yeah, my name is Jonathan. I'm calling from Cape Town.
Jonathan from South Africa. How are you, my dear brother?
I'm fine. How are you?
I miss you and your family.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Kindly, quickly make your contributions.
Okay, my quick contribution is, we are all in mourning, and I'm just thinking, I think we need to really think about what sort of memory we want to give the former president.
Yeah.
We want to think about how we can do that in unity. Unity has been mentioned so many times, but it doesn't seem like we're going that way with a lot of things. So everybody should put together. We should, I think, put aside a number of things that we can address at a later point. There'll be a time where we can sit down and talk about certain things, but right now my thinking is I think everybody should just rally behind what the government is doing. They've made some mistakes. There's a lot of things we don't agree with, but we need to somehow rally together and put up a show. We cannot, first of all, we need to be agreed that, we can't bury the president anywhere else. Yeah. I think that the growing monument is a living monument that's growing over time. That is there, that's fully accessible, which is Embassy Park.
Yeah.
That is where the president is going to be. That is how government operates. That's a tradition that we've set. Anything that is being mentioned against that is just trying to create chaos, and we don't want to go down that route. If you create chaos, I mean, in the end, we'll look very badly to, our citizens and also, the people who are visiting us to mourn together with us. I think we need to be very mature about these things.
Yeah,
any other thing that we are doing, let's just rally behind. I mean, there's statecraft. A lot of us have worked in government, and we know how these things work. Let's just rally behind that and just make sure this turns out well. It's one week. You can't resolve all the problems. Nobody's case is going to be dropped in the next 1 week. Nobody's going to be given what they want, but at least let's just rally behind and be united. That's
okay. Thank you, Waskombe. Thank you very much. Thank you. There was an issue of private, that the funeral should be held as a private. I think there's a lot of misunderstanding on that particular issue. that's why I bothered today to elaborate that there are family interest, there's a party's interest, there's the state's interest, and each one will play their role. And the duty of all of us is to ensure that the interests are balanced to the glory of Zambia and the glory of God, that we mourn President Edgar Lungu with dignity, we mourn, with reverence, and we celebrate his life. The emotions we are all going through are justifiable, but that is why you have then to learn how to handle the issues. It's not to run away or to shut a lid on it. I am glad that government sent a very senior minister, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, a very senior minister, sent the Minister of Foreign Affairs to be in South Africa, and he met with Honorable Makebe Zulu and the First Lady and Honorable Tasila Lungu Mwansa. And there were 2 meetings. That's how it should be. Emotions will be there, but how do you manage them? That's the issue. Good day, please tell us your name and where you are calling us from. I'm receiving the last 3 phone calls.
Okay, good evening. I'd rather remain anonymous. Let me call me concerned citizen.
Thank you, concerned citizens. Make your contributions.
Yes, thank you very much. There's just one point that before I make my contribution that I should say. You spoke in great detail, offering the sequence of how the former president responded when the late President Manwasa responded, and the steps he took to ensure that the late President Chilwa received treatment. Yeah. I think those are things that, in circumstances such as this, that need to be told repeatedly. So that you set a precedent, and so that people, for posterity, people know how things are supposed to be done. So may I humbly ask that perhaps at another occasion, you might just tell the people using this platform just that snippet and just delve into it in more detail. Yeah. I think that's important. My other point is precedent. Yeah. Ambassador, I'm getting rather concerned. I'm getting rather concerned in the nature in which we deal with these things. First of all, in the nature in which we are dealing with our politics and our discourse, and the nature in which a precedent seems to being set here. I hope within these 7 days it can be avoided and we can move upon it. But you are speaking about these things and what is happening outside of Zambia. I would not like to speculate too much on that, but I have a strong discomfort that you're not able to be here and have the freedom to be able to discuss and say these things. Yeah. It's a bad precedent. Yeah. I have seen a limiting of the democratic space where discourse is being limited, and opposition leaders are being taken to jail if the ruling party is in power. Now we have a situation where there's a death of a head of state. There's a lot of negative speculation and discourse about the role that was played or was not played, leading to the death of our former head of state, Edgar Chagwa. This is not a good precedent, and I think as Zambians we need to be cognizant of the fact that this is a nation. It's not a family home. It's not an individual relationship. It's a nation, and what we do sets precedents, and we need to reflect and ensure that we don't go on the wrong path.
Concerned Zambian, thank you very much for the contribution. Okay. Please call. There are so many calls. We have to end the debate. I want to give my my closing remarks, but let's see who can quickly come in. Oh, some lines are not connecting. Sorry. There are lots of messages. We may have to revisit this story on Monday, so that we exhaustively learn from one another. You've heard how the concerned citizen was saying that why don't we, some of us with some history experiences, we narrate how similar circumstances have been dealt with so that the country can learn from this episode. Good evening. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from. Good evening. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening, Ambassador.
Good evening. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Okay. My name is Justin. I'm calling you from within Osaka. Well, I didn't know that eventually there will be opportunities to call. I saw you coming live, and I get so inquisitive just to learn how informative you've been and helpful you've been to us. So thank you very much, Ambassador. It's very, very sad. Sincere condolences to the passing on of the 60th Republican President, Dr. Edgar Chagwalungu. We embrace peace and making sure that we send our dear President, or we escort him with a dignified send-off. But I think that there are a lot to learn. There's quite a lot to learn, Ambassador Emmanuel, but the passing on of our dear President Edgar Chagwalungu. When the current president of Zambia made it very clear at Dakawelerepo, and that when he goes this way, we use him in we cut his throat, and so on. We heard that from the President of the Republic of Zambia, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema. He said quite a lot in apparent reference to the late Republican President. Well, the eligibility case that he kept talking about, that we saw things that we had never seen. But what the court, I think that President Edgar Lungu is not eligible because he's no more Mr. President. I think that's what YHH should know, that is no more. But one thing is that what is very, very painful, I think, Ambassador, is that you see, if you stop someone from a sick person from going to the hospital, what are you doing? Yeah. Because a sickness is a time bomb. Bamwamba, you have got malaria, and you stop me from going to the hospital, so that it turns into malaria plus. And when I die, are you going to find this peace and sleep? When I die, you're stopping me from going to the hospital. Yeah. Because the sickness is time bomb, just like the professor, the one that you heard earlier in the day, was trying to talk about. That it's a procedure, and it's a procedure. But there's a lot to learn, And maybe just lastly, Ambassador, is that you see, quoting the Bible, 1 Peter 1 verse 24, all people are like grass, and all the glory is like the flowers. Yes, sir. The grass withers, the flowers fall. So I'm online. Would like to participate? The fact that okay, I'll call you shortly after when I'm done. Okay, thanks. Yes. Brian, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Brian. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. If Kolo File Tuma, let me see.
if I see a lot of missed calls, but let me just see if we can take this one. Vaneva mabo mulishani ku Italy uko. I'm so sorry, the line has been so busy and I see you have been trying so much. Please make your contributions.
And in a despondency, ambassador, despondency, I was trying to call that time when there was, I think it was a gentleman called Simba.
Oh, Simba from Zimbabwe, yes.
And you said he's part of the opposition party there.
No, yeah, he has grievances. He speaks for the opposition. I will invite him to a program where we can discuss politics at regional level. I didn't want him to abuse his platform to attempt to discuss those politics.
Yes, I am watching the handle when on a Chivako concern. That's why I was calling, because I was expecting that maybe I could get through and he can hear what I wanted to say. This.
No, I think we can call him. I'm going to call him after the funeral and after everything has been done. We can host a program where I can, because there are issues in the region, and for me, I would like to tackle them. I'm a peace and security expert. I've studied that at an MBA level, and my experience as an ambassador. So I'd like to host such a program, and I'll face him all head on, and we'll discuss the issues.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the way. Now, I think we're a complaint regarding him, because Zambia has helped Zimbabwe a lot. There is insensitivity now, misreading your mood. I'm very encouraged by you, Ambassador Lelo. And because when you were explaining how you handled, for example, the death of our other late president, Dr. Frederick Chiluban, you mentioned that sometimes your administrative skills kicked in. You are putting it mildly. Those are leadership qualities you have. So it came naturally. And I saw people asking you, how are you, Ambassador? And you say, I'm very well today, but I can look. I was watching all this time and I look at your eyes. You are not really okay. It's like you've been weeping, mourning, but you are telling the people that you are okay. A true leader. Now I'm very sure that you are a born leader. Because I know God is trying to teach our nation something.
Yeah.
And I've never felt so disconnected and distant towards my own country. But this is a little beyond me. This is a little too much.
Yeah.
And I wanted to just say I feel very, ever since this news broke, because for me, since I was elected here, my idea was to fight the persecution habit to acquire of our predecessors.
Yeah.
There's always my associations in the diaspora. There's always just a lot of negative gossip about my predecessors, and some of them don't even talk to each other. But we have a common background. We are losing sons of the soil. Zambia has no ambassador. We don't have a former living head of state. That's a country of people who are not serious with life. We don't have to kill ambassador. Should it be like this? Should it be like this? Ambassador, when will we stop and embrace collective wisdom? Because it's very possible to kill Mukesa. Achita Mukesa Dunguru Charo ambassador to push generational curse to push. I'm former leaders, but for example, Mwanawasa, but Bashika against Maiso rest in peace, against his will. There's still time. Good to have a Pariato Abashika Kobari Fuayanga, quite if it were Fienne Kubakaund, took a lombe, not fit quite a fatty.
national days of prayer for nothing. Who preach what they don't practice, they will cost us. We are becoming weak, Ambassador. We are at our weakest. Please keep on encouraging people, notifying the nation, updating it, and giving courage, because despotents, I think, is just a percentage of Zambia are hopeless. You know, you can forget to be numb with. Thank you. Only you people who have tasted the Amakaya power without being drunk and confused after can really bring back our country on track. Things are not well. Things are not okay, Ambassador. And this chichivenga chifumine kulilesa, but inga chifumine kulilesa nga chakwati wonse fena ba UPND bene nama opposition leaders nga tabasambirire for something. Now that we've lost our only former living head of state, a humble to earth person, surely. Then she wants it to connect for charo chesta chakwata abantu abakalamba bakwataman.
Bamabo yo mwabo mba chilabushikumu mulatukoselesha no koseleshe chalo, and thank you for your wise and kind words, and I'm sorry that you were unable to go through earlier. Thank you very much. Let's see what we discuss on Monday.
Thank you for the courage to even
thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. That is Mr. Mabo, who's president of Zambians in Italy. Is a keen participant to this program, and is a passionate preacher of peace and unity for our country, and he still has hope despite what we are going through. I hope this person will go through. They've struggled the whole program, the whole 3 hours, but their number is not connecting. Yeah. Let's see. Hope it connects. Let's see. I'm so sorry. Maybe write a message and maybe write a voice note. I can play it, but your number is not connecting. And you've been calling the entire 3 hours and you haven't been able to go through. Oh my God. So, okay. I think let's end the program now. And this is how we shall do it. Today we're reviewing as an update over the dark cloud that has befallen our country. We are mourning Zambia's 6th president, the only surviving former head of state. He himself was very lucky that he had 2 former heads of state that he was looking after, Dr. Kaunda and Rupiah Banda. And when President Rupiah Banda began to have difficulties and challenges with his health, and there was COVID, he released a presidential plane to take him for his medical treatment in Dubai. I remember that he also released the plane for the Chief Justice, when she was in Egypt or when she died, and it was at the height of COVID, and flights were all banned except for a few flights that were taking place. He was privileged to have looked after 2 former presidents. Here we have our last former president. We've lost him, and under circumstances that many are not happy with, because it looks like it was preventable. Eutangate mioshes twalishwa mwine eutupela twalishwa nokwebati eusenda lelo. Sometimes we appear like we're very careless. That's why I bothered to give the examples that I'm aware of. I can start with Dr. Chiluba. He was president. Remember, he was locked up by Dr. Kaunda in 1980 for a period of 8 months. When he became president, former First Lady Betty fell ill, and he evacuated her to the United Kingdom and looked after her for, I think, a period of 8 months while he was in the United Kingdom. There was difficulties around him, but I remember when I went to his office and he was former president, At the height of the acrimony in 2006, he was critically ill. He had been sick since 2004. We went to Honorable Kalombo Mwansa, who was gracious enough to reach President Mwanawasa, and within an hour, President Mwanawasa and Mrs. Maureen Mwanawasa were at the gate. They came and offered the immediate evacuation. When Michael Sata, who was a vociferous critic of President Levi Mwanawasa, who had risen from one MP, and by 2006 he had taken over the largest opposition party and continued to the point of harassment of President Mwanawasa in his vicious criticism as an opposition leader. He was a model vicious opposition leader. But when he had suffered that heart attack and was admitted to CFB in Long Acres, President Mwanawasa immediately responded, and he was the opposition leader, Michael Sata, was evacuated to Mill Park Hospital in South Africa. And this is what we expected, and this is what the family was talking about. President Lungu repeatedly requested to go for medical treatment, and was not accorded an opportunity to do so. Even the circumstances under which he left. We have an appeal. Uliaka sonde watamfishe ba Zambia National Airport, ulia manager. At Pantwali suminishe ba Lungu kuya ku medical treatment. Can he be reinstated? Can it be the duty and favor by President Hakainde Hichilema to the people of Zambia to have that person who evacuated President, who allowed President Lungu to go for medical treatment? He didn't disobey instructions. I think life is more important than anything else. It's a difficult period for all of us. President Hakainde Hichilema has since declared 7 days of national mourning. He has allocated Belvedere Lodge as a place of mourning, and the book of condolences will be opened. Government on their own will issue other detailed programs. We as a party are mourning from the party secretariat at the corner of Lumumba and Panganani Road, and it has been a place of mourning since President Lungu died. The family is coming with the mortal remains of the former president on Wednesday. We'll inform you when time, flights, and other things are confirmed. He will come on Wednesday. We'll tell you the details and the flight number, so that for those that wish to go to the airport can go to the airport and receive the former president. Obviously, government is going to issue a program also how he will be mourned. For example, he may lie in state at Mulungushi for ordinary people to go and see him, who hear from their side. So God bless you. God bless our country. God keep our country at peace, even in these difficult and volatile times. Shalom, shalom, and Zambia is bigger than all of us. God bless you.
Thank you very much, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes. Ladies and gentlemen of the press, good afternoon. Welcome to this press briefing this afternoon at Cabinet Office. Apologies, the presser was built for 14:30, but we still were doing one or two things. The Secretary to Cabinet, Mr. Patrick K. Kangwa, will address the media and through you, the nation. I now take the opportunity to invite the Secretary to Cabinet to address the nation. Let's see, sir.
Thank you, PS, and good afternoon, members of the media. The government of the Republic of Zambia wishes to inform members of the public that President Hakainde Hichilema has accorded a state funeral to His Excellency Mr. Edgar Chagwa Lungu, the 6th President of the Republic of Zambia, who died in South Africa on Thursday, 5th June 2025. As the public is aware, the government of the Republic of Zambia has been engaging and consulting the family and other stakeholders. Government wishes to announce that the body of the late sixth president will arrive in the country on Wednesday, 11th June 2025. Members of the public are also advised that the funeral gathering for the late president will be at Belvedere Lodge along Leopards Hill Road in Kabulonga, Lusaka. President Hichilema has declared a 7-day period of national mourning from Sunday 8th June to Saturday 14th June 2025. This is in line with the guidelines relating to former Republican president. This is in honor of the late former president in recognition of his immense contribution to the nation as sixth president of the Republic of Zambia. Members of the public are requested to observe the 7 days of national mourning from 6 hours to 18 hours by postponing or cancelling all entertainment activities while flags shall fly at half-mast. The public will be updated on other funeral arrangements at a later time. I thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
How the motto remains of our former president will be dealt with. In dealing with this subject matter, a position was presented to the government of the Republic of Zambia. The position being that the family wished to respect the wishes of the former president of the Republic of Zambia. And the respect that has been accorded to him, as he wished could be accorded to him, was that he be buried in Zambia. And in being buried in Zambia, he took cognizance of the fact that he served the country faithfully and diligently, putting aside personal ones and putting the country back on a trajectory of development. Hence, the massive infrastructure development that he oversaw being undertaken in the country. And as such, he would not take away the reason, or rather the obligation of every Zambian, or the desire of every Zambian, to mourn him with dignity. And as such, President Edgar Chagwa deserves the honors of being buried with the dignity that will be accorded to him by the Zambians. Through all this, he was cognizant to the fact that the government, under the watch of President Hakainde Hichilema, did not treat him as it ought to have. Sometime in 2022, he requested to travel for medicals in South Africa. The state rejected that request. That request was re-emphasized in 2023. The state responded by stating that it had no resources. In his response to the state, he stated that he would use his own resources. The state responded in a letter dated the 7th of September 2023, stating that his request was denied. Notwithstanding that the said travel was not for leisure or business, but for his health to be attended to. It should be known that at any given time, the state was aware of the ailment of President Edgar Chagwa. Having served in State House, and thereafter being former president, they knew what his condition was. Despite all that knowledge that they had, they still refused to allow him to travel. Fellow countrymen and women, you will note that at the time these entitlements were being denied him, he hadn't returned to active politics. He was still receiving other entitlements such as a pay that is due to a former head of state. But as regards his health and his movement, those were heavily restricted by the state. In 2025, when the ailment exceeded and doctors traveled into Zambia, checked on him and advised that he should come to South Africa, that time he had seized, or government had withdrawn all his privileges, and he traveled as an ordinary citizen. And he only booked a last-minute ticket was at the airport for purposes of not allowing the state to have enough time to connive and stop him. He arrived at the airport 30 minutes before boarding and eventually boarded. Those that dared to give him courtesies at the airport have since been fired. In our meeting with the state today, we made it open and clear that the family is not averse to certain privileges, though having been taken away from him, to be accorded to him as he earns them. Fellow countrymen and women, you will note that upon his travel, doctors in South Africa did express a concern to say that had he traveled earlier, they could have made certain interventions that would have served him well. And this would not be the discussion today. However, they proceeded to take measures that were necessary to sustain him and to remedy that of the desires of President Edgar Chagwa himself and the family. As the family mourns, they call for unity, they call for sobriety, they call for introspection, that this should not be a cause for division, but should be a cause for unity. And as such, any imposition from the government that goes against the desires of the family will not be accepted. However, we remain amenable to a win-win situation that accommodates all the views of the stakeholders involved. I thank you.